Hello there, commanders, and welcome back to Total War Arena National Cup. We are in Battle 2, Round 1, Match 1 between China and France. China has secured a victory in the previous battle on Rubicon. Now we are on Salernum. Sadly, I am not able to tell you which team picks which map, but that doesn't really matter that much. Let's switch off the Fog of War and let's see. The Chinese team has repeating crossbows, glaives, and some pikes in the city, countered by the French archers, also glaives and some swords. Sula, they're sending some Caesar swords. Sula and pikes are going to the center for the French team, faced by Chinese spears, supported by some swords as well, and pikes. That's going to be interesting. And here on the top of the hill we do have glaives for China, swords and spears, faced by Chinese foxmen, dogs, elephants. Okay, so the French team has a light barbarian composition on top of the hill, while heavy everywhere else, and China is just heavy everywhere. They haven't taken a single unit of cavalry nor elephants, nothing special other than repeating crossbows. Everything else is just pure infantry. So let's see here the matchup between repeating crossbows and archers. Repeating crossbows need to close the range, they cannot. Pike phalanx is deployed in front of them and they are quite afraid of the archers. Not very rightfully so, but let's see if the Chinese team can secure the repeating crossbows enough ground. Well, there we go, Vichy comes out, so the pike phalanx can go down. The pike player is stuck in Find the Shade, and the French glaives are coming from the back onto the repeating crossbows, but the Chinese glaives are also blocking them in time, allowing for the narrow corridor to be created and for the repeating crossbows to escape. That is quite a nice advantage for the French team to begin with. Let's see, the pikes can go into pike phalanx. They used shield bash, that's quite a powerful tool, but it wasn't enough to go into pike phalanx, so they're stuck in Find the Shade still. And the Chinese team is launching an attack on D, also from behind, from this city side. The French is slowly winning here the fight for C. It is unlocking in 40 seconds, but there are some reinforcements from the French team coming, while the French team is sending units away from C towards the fight in the city. Oh, those... Ooh, that's quite a big mistake. There we go, now Raised Shields has been cast, but they already suffered half of HP in damage. And now, as a similar maneuver, the Chinese team is creeping up from behind on the French range units. They don't notice it and they get charged. So the Chinese team, well, the French team is pushing towards A, and there's not much left to stop them other than ranged units, and they cannot contest the point. So it can turn into a race between who can cap the opposite point faster. D is already being capped by 2 units from the Chinese team. The French team is rushing towards A with their elephant and their spears as well, but there are some glaives left over behind. See if he'll turn around and contest it, but it looks like the China will be first. D is almost flipped. There we go, it is flipped. The French team wasn't quick enough to contest it. C is still being contested, but as the French team sent units away towards the main city, C doesn't look so hot for them, as the last pike unit is now going to face some Chinese reinforcements. Meanwhile, here on top of B, French team is taking on the Chinese heavy infantry in the tall grass. Looks like the Chinese team is winning the initial engagement, but the French team has access to healing. The glaives from the French team has respawned over here at E and now heading to C, as they obviously cannot spawn in the city as that point has been lost. It hasn't been secured yet. The French team has made their way just before it was captured, but it wasn't enough. They got routed, and now the French team in the city is pretty much non-existent, completely obliterated. You do have 1 elephant now retreating towards C, and 1 sword unit, 1 archer unit, but it's not looking very good for them. C has been lost as well, and now they will be looking to push back on the hillside. They have won here in that sense that they were closer to the healing zone, and now through counter-attack they're pursuing the Chinese unhealthy units. Let's see if they can pursue them quickly enough. They do have a lot of barbarian units, so they're faster. and if they will be able to keep denying the healing. The Chinese team is sacrificing one of their spears to delay the French advance, but they're just sending dogs and one unit of foxmen against it and not really bothering with and delaying themselves. So that is smart idea from them. The elephant is rushing straight on top of B to stop the point bleed because they are losing 6 points per second, or rather Chinese team is gaining 6 points per second versus the French team's only 1. Let's see, they have respawned archers and 2 players of swords at the base, and now they are rushing towards D. That's 9 units that will be contesting the point in the city, but the Chinese team has a healing zone right here in the city, while the French team has access to no healing zone anywhere close. So that attack needs to be very, very powerful and convincing from the get-go, otherwise it is going to fail. Let's see, they're sending the pikes towards C, trying to divert the enemy attention away from the city. That's quite a smart maneuver. And the contest for B has begun. They're sending the elephant to the healing zone, trying to deny healing, and they're doing that successfully. Another fox unit being sent there as well. I don't think it's necessary having those foxes flank here. There are a lot of Chinese units that are being sent here towards B. That would be very much more helpful. They thrown Scorch Earth onto the healing, and now they're charging into said Scorch Earth. Let's see, well, the French attack is already kind of running out of steam, so B is going to be contested, but it's definitely not going to be captured. Dogs are being mowed down by the pikes, together with some friendly spears, but as we said earlier, the Chinese pike player doesn't really care. The elephant managed to run away from the pikes, but he's also being cut down probably by vengeance, so that's Sula, but there we go, at Portas works pretty much the same way, if not even stronger. So the B contest is going to be stopped in its tracks. Let's see how the attack on D goes. They left the archers behind to just be chased away by some infantry. Luckily for the French team, the Chinese team has brought no cavalry. Well, neither did they, so no cavalry at all in this match. They only have dogs and elephants. And D is now being contested. There's only 1 unit here on top of D. Now they're looking to get some flanks. 1 unit being sent to deny any sort of healing or respawning, but there's nothing there that can heal, nothing there that can respawn, so that is a miscalculation from the French team. And they just should send units towards D to flank this unit as quickly as possible, route it, and get the point, because there is a prescription active. No, prescription is active because, because the French team is Sula. That is Caesar in Vichy, there we go. So they still need 1 more flank. That unit would be very useful here to apply that flank and route. The glaives are now being pulled back so that they can contest D as well. The French team needs to push. They're sending away 1 unit to put to sort of repel those repeating crossbows, but it's not going to last for long. Repeating crossbows can mow it down very, very quickly, and then it simply has not enough health to do that. And there we go, it is obliterated. There are archers there that may stop the repeating crossbows, but pikes are incoming as well, and those units still are not routed. There we go, now that unit that was denying the healing may deny some reinforcements, being useful that way. Can they find a flank? Those glaives are Sao, not Guan Yu, so no access to God of War. One of the units will finally be flying, but the pikes and repeating crossbows are already here. The pikes, oh, they failed to deploy pike flanks. They ran too much forward and didn't manage to get into pike phalanx. They weren't Vichy from what I've seen, so it's just their mistake. There we go, the glaives have now been killed. There is still 1 unit here from the Chinese team contesting D. And E is now also being contested, actually flipped, so no healing zone for the French team here either. It is a big mistake on the side of the French team. Sadly, I didn't capture what the hell happened here, but something went seriously wrong. They must have went everything back to heal and nothing defending E, and well, that would happen, most likely at the very least. So let's see if the French team will be able to capture D. Doesn't look like it either. The pikes are now mowing down the infantry. They are on top of the point, and there's really no opportunity to flank them in here in such a narrow corridor. So the French team is not going to capture D, despite their best efforts. There were 6 units versus just 2, and the reinforcements arrived in time. They were not able to rout them quickly enough. Let's see if they at least can get control back of E. They have flipped it sort of towards themselves. The pikes are sort of supposed to prevent the enemy reinforcements from getting on top of the point, but we can see that that didn't work. The glaives have found their way to contest the point. The Folksmen now need to apply some flanks, but they're just running already towards B, or maybe towards these glaives, are trying to make their way as well, as the pikes will take care of these glaives. And there's also a blob of French infantry in there that may provide some flanks. The glaives are already suffering quite significant damage. But the Chinese team also has a huge blob of infantry here, being held only by some remaining dogs and a unit of glaives. That is not going to last too long. Need to reposition their pikes and get them mowing down that blob as quickly as possible. And the pikes are not doing that now. They are engaged in melee, cannot go into pike phalanx anymore, and that just spells disaster for the French team. Let's see if the Chinese team can capture E, as that is really the only thing happening here. C is contested, but obviously is not going to be captured. D is contested again, so that's good thing on the French part. They're sending the elephants just to contest the points, just to buy some time, because if the points are contested, they're not providing points for the team that holds them. So Chinese team is getting only 3.4 points at the moment. And E doesn't really look like it is going to go the French way. They do not have a healing zone over here. Well, the Chinese team, luckily for the French team, they don't have a healing zone here either, but it's not going to matter much. Folksmen and... no, only the pikemen are recalling. The Folksmen are just standing there being AFK. Oh well, the Folksman is still fighting here, so he cannot recall, but this unit is just standing there waiting, maybe for the ability to recall. And let's see what the French team will be looking to do. Looks like they're sending another attack towards D with 3 melee units. Archers are going towards the center just to be chased off by glaives, and they're sending the pikes to the city as well. E has now finally been captured by the Chinese team, and China now controls all the points on the map with 9.5 points gained per second. So there's really no way that the French team can find some kind of a miracle run to win this game, other than just YOLO mid rushing everything, contesting everything. Well, in order to contest everything, they would need to first capture E and D, which is not going to happen in such a short time that they have left before the Chinese team wins. Only half a minute before they get all the way to 3,500 points. Seems the French team is knows this. There we go. English is hard apparently. Some last engagements here in the city, but Chinese team is going to secure the victory. We'll see. Yeah. Killing friends first, enemy second. There we go. A meme for the very end of the battle, and the Chinese team has won the first match of the tournament against France 2-0, and well, are leading the standings with 3 points. The French team is in the last place with 0 points. But hey, that was just the first match of the first round, so anything can happen. I'll see you next week with, let me check the schedule very quickly. Sorry for that, I haven't actually prepared for this. Next battle is going to be Russia versus Spain. So until then, I'll see you on Arena's Battlefields, Commanders.